The summer after high school stretches out like the endless highways we've been driving on, full of possibility, terrifying in its openness. 4 days, 6 colleges, 2 states. Just me and Eli. Always just me and Eli. 7 years of friendship packed into a beat-up Honda Civic. His dad handed down to him when we graduated. The back seat is crammed with snacks, duffel bags, and printed campus maps. The passenger seat, my throne for the journey, already bears the impression of my body from the first 6 hours on the road. "You falling asleep on me again, Jamie?" Eli asks, his voice cutting through the soft indie rock floating from the speakers. I straighten up, not realizing I'd been drifting. "Just resting my eyes." "Sure you were." He grins, the afternoon sun catching in his dark curls, turning them almost auburn at the edges. He's let his hair grow longer since graduation, the ends now brushing against the collar of his faded blue t-shirt. I've seen that smile 10,000 times. So why does it feel different now? Why does it send something warm and dangerous spiraling through my chest? The first campus is exactly what you'd expect. Brick buildings dripping with ivy, manicured lawns stretching out in perfect squares. Students lounging with an affected casualness that screams, "Look how perfectly I belong here." We sit through the information session, our chairs just close enough that our elbows touch whenever one of us shifts. Each time I feel it like a small electric shock, and each time I wonder if he feels it too. Afterward, as we walk the pathways between buildings, Eli is uncharacteristically quiet. "What do you think?" I ask, nudging his shoulder with mine. He shrugs. "It's nice, impressive, prestigious." The words sound hollow. "But I don't know." He stops walking, looking up at the towering library before us. "It feels like putting on someone else's clothes, you know? Like I'm trying to be something I'm not." I watch the way his jaw works when he's thinking hard, the slight furrow between his brows that's been there since we were 12. I want to reach out and smooth it away with my thumb. "We've got 5 more to see," I say instead. "Maybe one will feel right?" He turns to me then, and something in his gaze makes my breath catch. "Yeah," he says quietly. "Maybe one will." The motel room is smaller than the photos online suggested. One double bed, a bathroom with a flickering light, and thin curtains that do little to block the neon glow from the vacancy sign outside. "I can call down," I offer, standing awkwardly by the door. "See if they have anything else available." Eli tosses his duffel bag onto the floor and flops backward onto the bed. "It's fine. We've shared smaller spaces." He pats the mattress beside him. "Unless you're worried I'll steal the covers." I laugh, but it comes out strained. We've had countless sleepovers over the years, crashed in the same bed during parties, even shared a tent on camping trips. But something feels different now. I feel different. "I'm going to shower," I announce, grabbing my toiletry bag and retreating to the bathroom. Under the lukewarm spray, I press my forehead against the tile and try to steady my breathing. It's just Eli, my best friend. The same guy who held my hair back when I got food poisoning at junior prom. The same guy who stayed up all night helping me finish my college applications when I'd procrastinated until the last minute. The same guy I've been half in love with since I was 15. I've gotten good at burying it. At pretending the flutter in my chest when he throws his arm around my shoulders is just friendship. At convincing myself the jealousy I feel when he talks about girls is just fear of being left behind. But something about this trip, about being cut off from our normal lives, from the patterns and distractions we've built around ourselves, is making it harder to pretend. When I emerge from the bathroom, Eli is sitting cross-legged on the bed, laptop open, the blue light casting shadows across his face. "I was thinking," he says, not looking up, "maybe we should skip the campus tour at Westlake tomorrow. Their film program isn't even that good, and there's this state park nearby." He trails off, finally glancing up at me. I'm suddenly aware that I'm wearing only a towel around my waist, water still dripping from my hair onto my shoulders. Eli's gaze lingers for a beat too long before he abruptly returns his attention to the screen. "Yeah," I say, my mouth dry. "That sounds good." Later, lying in the dark with 6 inches of careful space between us, I listen to Eli's breathing grow slow and steady. Just when I think he's asleep, he whispers, "Jamie?" "Yeah?" "Are you scared?" His voice is so quiet I almost don't hear it. "Of what?" A long pause. "Of everything changing, of making the wrong choice." I swallow hard. "Yeah, all the time." He shifts closer, and now I can feel the warmth radiating from his body. Me too. I don't know if he falls asleep after that. I don't, not for a long time. The state park is beautiful in a wild, untamed way. We hike a trail that winds alongside a river, the water rushing and foaming over rocks worn smooth by time. Race you to the top, Eli challenges when we reach a steep section of the path. Before I can respond, he's already sprinting ahead, his laughter trailing behind him. I chase after him, my lungs burning, watching the play of muscles under his thin t-shirt. When I catch up at the crest of the hill, we're both gasping for breath, doubled over with hands on our knees. "Ty," he declares between pants, straightening up to reveal a smile so bright it hurts to look at. "In your dreams," I counter. "I totally beat you. Whatever helps you sleep at night, Jamie." He slings an arm around my shoulders, and I can feel the dampness of his sweat, smell the woodsy scent of his deodorant mingling with something uniquely him. We stay like that, his arm around me, as we walk to the viewpoint. Below us, the valley stretches out, trees giving way to the small college town we'll be visiting tomorrow. It looks impossibly small from up here, like a place we could hold in the palm of our hands. "Beautiful," Eli murmurs, and when I glance over, I find him looking not at the view, but at me. My heart stutters, but before I can process what's happening, he's pulling away, digging through his backpack. "Let's take a photo," he says, voice suddenly louder, more deliberate. We snap a selfie with the valley behind us, my smile stiff, his eyes not quite meeting the camera. The rain catches us by surprise on our way back to the car. 1 minute the sky is clear, the next it's opening up, fat drops pelting down with increasing urgency. "Shit!" Eli laughs, grabbing my wrist. "Run!" We sprint down the path, slipping on newly formed mud, holding on to each other to stay upright. By the time we reach the parking lot, we're both soaked through, shirts clinging to our bodies, hair plastered to our foreheads. Instead of making a dash for the car, Eli stops in the middle of the empty lot, tilts his head back, and lets the rain wash over his face. His eyes are closed, lips parted slightly, and he looks so perfectly, painfully beautiful that I forget how to breathe. "What are you doing?" I call over the drumming of rain on asphalt. He opens his eyes, looks at me with an expression I can't decipher. "Living," he says simply, and then he's grabbing my hands, spinning us in a circle, water flying off us in arcs. I'm laughing despite myself, despite the cold seeping into my bones, despite the confusion and longing threatening to tear me apart from the inside. For this moment, with his hands warm in mine and his face alight with joy, nothing else matters. When we finally collapse into the car, the windows immediately fog with our breath and the heat of our bodies. We sit there, dripping onto the upholstery, breathing hard, neither of us making a move to start the engine. "That was," I begin, but I don't know how to finish. "Yeah," Eli agrees, as if I'd completed the thought. Maybe I had. He turns to look at me, water dripping from his eyelashes. Without thinking, I reach out and brush a strand of wet hair from his forehead. His breath catches audibly. My hand freezes, then begins to retreat, but Eli catches it, holds it against his cheek for one heart-stopping moment before letting go. "We should get back," he says, his voice rough. "Get into some dry clothes." The drive to the motel is silent except for the squeak of the windshield wipers and the soft hiss of the heater. The second college is a bust. The campus is sterile, all glass and concrete. Nothing like the warm, community-focused atmosphere promised in the brochures. The tour guide speaks in rehearsed sound bites, and the students we pass look stressed and sleep-deprived. "Next?" Eli asks as we walk back to the car. "Next," I agree. We drive 3 hours to reach the third school on our list, arriving just as the sun is beginning to set. Rather than check into another motel right away, we wander the edges of the campus, peering into buildings with lights still on, trying to imagine ourselves in the empty classrooms and corridors. "I could see you here," Eli says, nodding toward a group of students gathered on the steps of what appears to be an arts building, instruments and sketchbooks scattered around them. "Yeah?" I watch as one student throws their head back in laughter at something another has said. "Yeah, you've always belonged with the creative types." There's something in his voice. Wistfulness, maybe? Or resignation? "What about you?" I ask. He shrugs. "I don't know if I belong anywhere." The words hit me like a physical blow because I know exactly where he belongs, with me. He belongs with me. We find a small diner near campus for dinner, sliding into a booth with cracked vinyl seats. Eli orders a chocolate milkshake and french fries, same as he has since we were kids. I get a burger I barely taste. Do you remember, he says, dipping a fry into his shake with methodical precision, in 8th grade, when Ms. Patterson made us write those letters to our future selves? I nod. She was supposed to mail them to us after graduation, but the school lost them or something. I still remember what I wrote. He's not looking at me, focused intently on swirling a fry in the thick shake. I wrote that by the time I read the letter, I hoped I'd have figured out who I really was, that I'd have stopped pretending. My heart beats a strange rhythm against my ribs. Pretending what? He finally looks up, and there's something raw and vulnerable in his eyes that makes my throat tighten. Everything. Anything. Just pretending. The waitress chooses that moment to check on us, breaking whatever spell had been woven between us. By the time she leaves, Eli is back to his usual self, telling a story about his younger brother's latest misadventure. But I can't shake the feeling that he was about to tell me something important. Something that could change everything. The hotel in the third city is nicer than the motel. 2 queen beds, a view of the city skyline, even a small refrigerator. But when Eli emerges from the bathroom after his shower, he hesitates at the foot of the empty bed, towel wrapped around his waist, water beating on his chest. We could watch a movie, he suggests, gesturing to the TV mounted on the wall. Sure. I scoot over on my bed, making room for him without thinking. He slides in beside me, still warm from the shower, smelling of hotel soap and toothpaste. I flip through channels until we land on an old action movie we've both seen a dozen times. It's comfortable, familiar. We quote our favorite lines, laugh at the cheesy special effects, groan at the predictable plot twists. But underneath it all is a current of awareness, of his bare shoulder pressed against mine, of the way his laugh vibrates through the mattress, of how easily I could turn my head and find his face inches from mine. Halfway through the movie, his head drops onto my shoulder. I freeze, afraid to move, to breathe, to do anything that might disturb this moment. Sorry, he murmurs, not lifting his head. Tired? It's okay? My voice sounds strange even to my own ears. We stay like that until the credits roll. When I finally work up the courage to look down at him, I find his eyes open, staring at the screen but seeing something else entirely. Eli? He sits up slowly, his face passing so close to mine that I feel his breath on my cheek. Jamie, he says, and my name in his mouth sounds like a prayer, like a question, like an answer. The moment stretches, elastic and fragile. His eyes drop to my lips, and I think, I hope, I fear. Then he's standing, mumbling something about needing water, and the moment shatters. The fourth college feels right almost immediately. It's a medium-sized liberal arts school nestled between mountains and sea. The campus is alive with energy, students sprawled on the grass reading, tossing frisbees, engaged in passionate discussions under tree shade. Our tour guide is a film major, like what Eli wants to study, and her enthusiasm is infectious. She shows us the state-of-the-art media labs, the screening rooms, the editing suites. Eli asks question after question, more animated than he's been at any previous school. And what about you? She asks me during a lull in the tour. What are you hoping to study? Creative writing, I answer, feeling Eli's gaze on me. Oh, you should meet Professor Chen then. He's brilliant, completely changed how I think about storytelling for film. She guides us toward an ivy-covered building. His office is right there. He might be in if you want to pop by. To my surprise, the professor is not only in, but happy to chat with a prospective student. He's younger than I expected, with kind eyes and a quiet intensity that puts me instantly at ease. We talk about contemporary literature, about the intersection of different media, about the power of personal narrative. When I emerge from his office 40 minutes later, Eli is waiting in the hallway, leaning against the wall, scrolling through his phone. He looks up when the door opens, and the smile that spreads across his face is so genuine, so proud, that I feel myself blushing. Good talk? He asks as we walk back out into the sunshine. Amazing. I can't keep the excitement from my voice. He invited me to sit in on his advanced workshop tomorrow morning. That's great, Jamie. Eli throws an arm around my shoulders, pulls me into a half hug. I told you you'd blow them away. We spend the rest of the afternoon exploring the town around the campus, small enough to feel intimate, large enough to offer variety. There's a bookstore with creaking wooden floors and ceiling-high shelves, a record shop where the owner plays us his latest vinyl discoveries, a cafe where students huddle over laptops fueled by espresso and ambition. By silent mutual agreement, we end up at a small beach as the sun begins to set. The sand is cool beneath our bare feet, the waves gentle against the shore. We walk along the water's edge, letting the surf wash over our ankles, not talking much but comfortable in the shared silence. "I think this is it," Eli says finally. "For me, at least." I look over at him, outlined in gold by the setting sun. "Yeah?" He nods. "It feels right, like I could be myself here." The words echo between us, heavy with unspoken meaning. "And who is that?" I ask, my voice barely audible over the crash of waves. "Who is the real Eli?" He stops walking, turns to face me fully. The dying light catches in his eyes, turning them to amber. For a long moment, he just looks at me, really looks at me, as if trying to memorize my face or find something hidden in my expression. "I'm still figuring that out," he says finally. "But I think I'm getting closer." Back at the hotel, we order pizza and eat it sitting cross-legged on the floor, a map of the campus spread out between us. Eli circles buildings with a red pen, making notes in the margins. "If we both ended up here," he says, not looking up from the map, "we could try to get rooms in this dorm. It's closest to both the film school and the English department." My heart skips at the casual way he includes me in his future plans, as if it's a given that we'll stay in each other's lives, that we'll continue to orbit each other even in this new chapter. "You'd want that?" I ask. "To be roommates?" He glances up, looking surprised. "Of course. Why wouldn't I?" "Because it would be torture, I think, but don't say. Because I don't know how much longer I can pretend that what I feel for you is only friendship. Because every day I spend with you makes it harder to imagine ever being without you." "No reason," I say instead. "Just checking." We clean up the pizza boxes, get ready for bed in companionable silence. But as I'm about to turn off the lamp between our beds, Eli speaks. "Can we push them together?" I blink at him, not sure I've heard correctly. "What?" He gestures to the beds. "Can we push them together, like we used to do during sleepovers when we were kids?" The request is so unexpected, so strangely innocent and yet loaded with potential meaning that I don't know how to respond. "Never mind," he says quickly, misinterpreting my silence. "It was a stupid idea." "No," I say, perhaps too forcefully. "No, it's not stupid. Let's do it." We shove the beds together, rearrange the sheets and blankets. When we finally lie down, there's still a small gap between the mattresses, a symbolic divide neither of us acknowledges. "Good night, Jamie," Eli whispers. "Good night," I whisper back. I lie awake long after his breathing evens out, watching the play of shadows on the ceiling, hyper-aware of his presence just inches away. When I finally drift off, I dream of waves washing over my feet, of amber eyes, of words caught in my throat like fish bones. The next morning, Professor Chen's workshop is everything I hoped it would be. The students are engaged, thoughtful, passionate about their work. The discussion is challenging but supportive, pushing ideas further rather than tearing them down. Afterward, Professor Chen takes me aside. "You've got a good ear," he says, "for dialogue, for rhythm. Have you applied yet?" "Working on it," I tell him. "This trip is part of making the final decision," he nods. "Well, I hope you choose us. I think you'd thrive here." I leave the building feeling lighter than I have in months, possibilities unfurling before me like sails catching wind. Eli is waiting on a bench outside, camera in hand, snapping photos of students passing by. When he sees me, he lowers the camera, his face breaking into a wide smile. "So?" he asks as I approach. "It was incredible," I gush, unable to contain my excitement. "The students are brilliant, and Professor Chen is just as amazing as advertised. And they're doing this interdisciplinary thing with the film department that sounds perfect for—" I stop abruptly, realizing what I was about to say. "Perfect for us." As if we're a package deal. As if my decision is already made, based not on academic programs or career prospects, but on the boy standing in front of me with a camera around his neck and the sun in his hair. "For what?" Eli prompts. "For someone like me," I finish lamely. He studies my face for a moment, then nods slowly. Want to see what I've been up to? He shows me the photos on his camera's display screen. Students caught in moments of unself-conscious joy. The architecture of the campus rendered in interesting angles and perspectives, close-ups of unexpected details. A snail making its way across a stone path, a dragonfly perched on a windowsill, a constellation of water droplets on a spider's web. The last photo makes me catch my breath. It's me, taken from behind, standing at the entrance to the academic building. My posture radiates anticipation, one hand on the door handle, the other clutching the strap of my backpack. The morning light creates a halo effect around my silhouette. When did you take this? I ask. Right before you went in. Eli's voice is soft. You looked hopeful. I wanted to capture that. I stare at the image, trying to see what he sees. Is that how he thinks of me? As someone hopeful, standing on the threshold of something new? Do you ever take photos of yourself? I ask. He shakes his head. Not really. I prefer being behind the camera. Always the observer, never the observed? Something flickers in his eyes. Something like that. On impulse, I take the camera from his hands. May I? After a moment's hesitation, he nods. I lift the camera to my eye, focus on his face. He looks uncomfortable at first, then resigned. Then, as I continue to wait, not pressing the shutter, curious. What are you waiting for? He asks. The real Eli, I answer. His expression shifts, vulnerability replacing the practiced neutrality. That's when I take the photo, capturing something raw and unguarded, something I've only glimpsed in fragments before. When I hand the camera back, our fingers brush. Neither of us pulls away immediately. We spend the afternoon exploring more of the town, wandering into shops, sampling local food, getting a feel for the place we might soon call home. As the day progresses, I find myself increasingly aware of Eli's physical presence, the way he gestures when he's excited about something, how he absently runs a hand through his hair when he's thinking, the small touches he gives me to direct my attention to things he finds interesting. Have these touches always been so frequent? Has he always stood this close? Or is it new? This gravitational pull between us, this constant awareness. As evening approaches, rain clouds gather on the horizon. We're halfway back to the hotel when the first drops begin to fall. Not again, I groan, remembering our drenched state after the state park. Eli grins. Race you? But it's too late. Within seconds, the gentle patter becomes a downpour. We dash through the streets, dodging other pedestrians seeking shelter, laughing despite, or perhaps because of, the absurdity of our situation. By the time we reach the hotel, we're soaked through once again. In the elevator, an older couple gives us disapproving looks as we drip onto the carpet, trying to stifle our laughter. Sorry, Eli tells them, not sounding sorry at all. We got caught in the rain. Life's too short to worry about a little water, the woman sniffs, but her husband winks at us as they exit on the floor below ours. In our room, I peel off my wet shirt, rummaging through my duffel bag for something dry. When I turn around, Eli is standing by the window, still fully clothed, water pooling at his feet as he stares out at the rain-lashed view. You should change, I tell him. You'll catch cold. He doesn't respond, doesn't move. Something in his stillness alarms me. Eli? I approach cautiously. Are you okay? He turns to me then, his face a complex map of emotions I can't fully decipher. No, he says, his voice barely audible. I don't think I am. My heart races. What's wrong? Are you sick? Is it the school? If you don't like it here, we still have 2 more to visit. We can... It's not the school, he interrupts. The school is perfect. Everything about it is perfect. Then what? He takes a deep breath, his hands clenching and unclenching at his sides. It's me. It's you. It's this. He gestures vaguely between us. The world seems to tilt beneath my feet. What do you mean? I can't do it anymore, Jamie. His voice cracks on my name. I can't keep pretending. I stand frozen, afraid to hope, afraid to speak, afraid that any move I make will shatter this fragile moment. Pretending what? I finally manage, echoing our conversation from the diner. Eli steps forward, close enough that I can see the water droplets clinging to his eyelashes, can feel the heat radiating from his rain-soaked body. That I don't feel what I feel, he whispers. Time stretches, elastic and strange. I'm aware of every detail, the steady drumming of rain against the window, the hum of the air conditioning, the rapid rise and fall of Eli's chest as he breathes, the space between us shrinking by millimeters. And what do you feel? The words scrape my throat raw. Instead of answering, Eli lifts his hand achingly slowly and places it against my cheek. His palm is cold from the rain, but his touch burns like a brand. I think you know, he says, his eyes never leaving mine. I think you've always known. The world narrows to this point of contact. His hand on my face, his eyes holding mine, the mingled scent of rain and possibility hanging in the air between us. And I realize with sudden blinding clarity, everything is about to change. Eli's hand rests against my cheek, his eyes searching mine with an intensity that makes my chest ache. The rain continues to drum against the window, a steady rhythm that somehow matches the beating of my heart. I think you know, he says again, voice barely above a whisper. I think you've always known. My breath catches. I've imagined this moment for years, dreamt it, feared it, longed for it. But now that it's here, I find myself frozen, afraid that any movement might shatter this fragile new reality. Say something, Eli pleads, uncertainty creeping into his expression. His hand begins to fall away from my face. I catch it without thinking, press it back against my skin. How long? The words come out rough, unsteady. A small, sad smile tugs at his lips. Forever? I don't know. It feels like forever. The admission hangs between us, monumental in its simplicity. My mind races through every moment we've shared. The late-night conversations, the casual touches, the lingering looks, searching for signs I might have missed, clues I failed to interpret. Why didn't you tell me? I ask, though I already know the answer. It's the same reason I've kept my own feelings buried for so long. I was scared. Eli's thumb traces my cheekbone, feather light. Scared of losing you. Scared of who I am. Scared that what I felt was one-sided. It wasn't, I whisper. It isn't. Something shifts in his expression then, hope breaking through like sunlight after a storm. Jamie. And then somehow we're moving toward each other, the distance between us disappearing by fractions. I can feel his breath on my lips, can see the flecks of gold in his brown eyes. We hover there on the precipice of something irreversible. But at the last moment I pull back. Wait, I say, the word like gravel in my throat. I need to be sure. I need to know this isn't just confusion or curiosity or some momentary impulse you'll regret tomorrow. Pain flashes across Eli's face. Is that what you think this is? I don't know what to think. The truth spills out of me. You've always been straight? He laughs, but there's no humor in it. That's what everyone sees. That's what I let them see. He steps back, running a hand through his wet hair in frustration. Do you know how exhausting it is? Constantly monitoring every word, every gesture, every look, pretending to be interested in girls when all I could think about was. He stops abruptly, turns away from me to stare out the rain-streaked window. All you could think about was what? I push gently. His shoulders rise and fall with a deep breath. You, he says, so quietly, I almost don't hear it. All I could think about was you. The confession hits me like a physical blow. I move toward him, place a tentative hand on his shoulder. Eli, look at me. Slowly he turns. His eyes are damp, but whether from rain or unshed tears, I can't tell. I've been in love with you since I was 15, I tell him, the words flowing easier now that they've finally been set free. I never let myself hope that you might feel the same way. Something breaks open in his expression then. Relief and wonder and a vulnerability so raw it makes my heart ache. Say it again, he whispers. I love you, I repeat, the truth of it resonating through every cell in my body. I've always loved you. This time when we move toward each other, nothing stops us. So our lips meet, hesitant and soft at first, then with growing certainty. His hands frame my face. Mine find his waist. I can taste the rain on his skin, feel the slight tremor in his fingers. It's nothing like I imagined and everything I've ever wanted. When we finally break apart, Eli rests his forehead against mine, eyes closed, breathing uneven. I've wanted to do that for so long, he murmurs. Me too. We stand there, holding each other in the half-dark of the hotel room. The storm outside a perfect counterpoint to the storm of emotions within. Everything has changed in the span of minutes, and yet nothing has changed at all. He's still Eli, I'm still Jamie, and the bond between us is still the foundation of my world. Only now there's something more, something new and fragile and terrifying in its beauty. We should probably get out of these wet clothes, I say eventually, practical concerns intruding on the moment. Eli laughs, a warm sound that vibrates through me. Way to ruin the mood, Jamie. But he steps back, begins to peel off his soaked shirt. I try not to stare at the familiar planes of his chest, now cast in an entirely new light. I've seen him shirtless hundreds of times, at the pool, after gym class, during countless sleepovers, but never with the knowledge that I'm allowed to look, allowed to want. I turn away, busying myself with finding dry clothes in my duffel bag. Behind me, I hear the soft sounds of Eli changing, the rustle of fabric, the quiet pad of bare feet on carpet. Jamie? His voice is closer than I expected. I turn to find him standing just behind me, now dressed in a dry t-shirt and sweatpants. His hair is towel-dried, curling wildly around his face. What happens now? He asks, and I hear the uncertainty beneath the question. It's a good question, one I don't have an answer for. We're at the end of high school, poised on the brink of whatever comes next. College decisions, new cities, different paths. The future stretches out before us, vast and unknowable. I don't know, I admit, but we figure it out together. He nods, seeming satisfied with this non-answer. Then he reaches out, takes my hand in his, a simple gesture that somehow feels more intimate than the kiss we just shared. Together, he echoes, a promise in a single word. We order room service for dinner, neither of us wanting to venture back out into the rain. We sit cross-legged on the pushed-together beds, eating overpriced burgers and sharing a single serving of fries, talking about everything and nothing. It's strange how little has changed, and yet how everything feels different. The easy rhythm of our conversation is the same as it's always been, but now there's a new awareness humming beneath the surface, a heightened consciousness of each casual touch, each shared glance. When did you know? I asked during a lull in the conversation. About your feelings for me, I mean. Eli considers the question, absently twirling a French fry between his fingers. I think I always knew on some level, but if I had to pick a moment, he pauses, eyes growing distant with memory. Remember junior year when you got that terrible flu? I nod, not sure where this is going. You were out of school for a week and I felt lost without you there, like a part of me was missing. He shrugs, looking almost embarrassed by the admission. That's when I knew it wasn't just friendship, but I think I'd been falling for you long before that. A warm, sweet ache spreads through my chest. Why didn't you ever say anything? Why didn't you? He counters, but gently. Fear, I answer honestly. I couldn't bear the thought of losing you, and I was so convinced you were straight. Eli laughs, but it's tinged with sadness. Yeah, I worked pretty hard at that image. Why? He's quiet for a long moment. My dad, he finally says. You know how he is, all that man-up bullshit, the constant sports talk, the way he interrogates me about girls whenever I go to a party. He sighs. I couldn't disappoint him. Not after everything with my mom. I understand without him having to explain further. Eli's mom left when he was 12, moved across the country with barely a backward glance. His dad, left to raise Eli and his younger brother alone, had thrown himself into being both parents, sometimes to smothering effect. Do you think? I hesitate, not wanting to push too far too fast. Would you ever tell him about us? Eli looks down at our hands, now intertwined on the bedspread. I don't know, he admits. The thought terrifies me, but also, he meets my eyes. I'm tired of hiding. I'm tired of pretending to be someone I'm not. I squeeze his hand. Whatever you decide, whenever you decide it, I'm here. His smile is small but genuine. I know. Later, after we've cleared away the remnants of dinner and brushed our teeth side by side at the bathroom sink, a familiar routine now charged with new significance, we return to the pushed-together beds. There's a moment of awkwardness as we both hover at the edge, suddenly unsure of the protocol. This is ridiculous, Eli finally says with a nervous laugh. We've had sleepovers since we were 10. This feels different, I admit. His expression softens. It is different, but it's still us. He climbs into bed first, holds the covers up in silent invitation. After a moment's hesitation, I join him. We lie on our backs, shoulders touching, staring at the ceiling. Is this weird? He whispers into the darkness. A little, I confess, but good weird. He turns onto his side to face me, and after a moment, I mirror him. In the dim light filtering through the curtains, I can just make out the contours of his face, the slope of his nose, the curve of his lips, the shadow of his lashes against his cheeks. Can I? He starts, then stops, uncharacteristically shy. What? Instead of answering, he reaches out, traces the line of my jaw with his fingertips. The touch is so gentle it makes my breath catch. I've wanted to do this for so long, he murmurs. Just touch you, without having to come up with an excuse. I catch his hand, press a kiss to his palm. You don't need excuses anymore. His smile is visible even in the near darkness. He shifts closer until our knees bump together under the covers. Is this okay? Yes. Closer still until his forehead rests against mine. And this? Yes. One hand comes to rest on my waist. This? In answer, I bridge the final distance between us, pressing my lips to his. The kiss is different from our first, less hesitant, more certain. His hand slides from my waist to my back, pulling me closer. We kiss for what feels like hours, learning the shape and taste of each other, hands wandering but never straying too far. It's exploration without urgency, affection without expectation. When we finally break apart, both breathing heavily, Eli tucks me against his chest, my head nestling under his chin. I never thought I could have this, he whispers into my hair. Me neither. I fall asleep to the sound of his heartbeat, steady and sure beneath my ear. The next morning, I wake to find Eli watching me, his expression soft with something I'm almost afraid to name. Creepy much? I mumble, voice rough with sleep. He laughs. Just making sure I didn't dream yesterday. The memory of everything that happened, the confession, the kisses, the quiet intimacy of falling asleep in his arms, rushes back, bringing heat to my face. Not a dream, I confirm. His smile is radiant. Good. We shower and dress separately, still navigating the new boundaries of this relationship. Over breakfast in the hotel restaurant, we discuss the day's plans, a final tour of the campus, a meeting with the admissions counselor, the drive to our next destination. Or, Eli says, pushing scrambled eggs around his plate, we could stay another day. I look up, surprised. Here? He nods, not quite meeting my eyes. I liked it here, the campus, the town, and I thought, maybe we could use an extra day to figure things out. Now he does look at me, vulnerable and hopeful. What do you think? What I think is that I'd follow him anywhere. What I think is that I'd give up every college tour, every future plan, just to extend this moment, this newborn, delicate thing between us, for as long as possible. I'd like that, I say instead, keeping my voice casual despite the way my heart races. His answering smile is worth any change of plans. We spend the day exploring the campus more thoroughly, armed with a different perspective now. Every bench looks like a place we might sit together, every tree a spot we might study beneath, every dormitory a potential home. The future feels more real somehow, more tangible, now that I can imagine us in it together. During a break between tours, we find ourselves alone in a quiet corner of the library. Eli pulls me behind a tall bookshelf, kisses me quickly, furtively. The thrill of it, of being hidden yet not quite hidden, of the newness of us, makes me dizzy. Sorry, he whispers when he pulls back, not looking sorry at all. Couldn't help myself. I touch my lips, still tingling from the contact. Don't apologize. Later, we walk along the beach again, this time with fingers loosely intertwined. The physical contact is still new enough to make my pulse quicken, even as the gesture itself feels natural, inevitable, as if our hands were always meant to find each other. What are you thinking? Eli asks, as we watch the waves roll in. That I'm happy. I say honestly, and terrified. He squeezes my hand. Terrified of what? Of how much I want this. Of how easily it could all fall apart. Eli stops walking, tugs me around to face him. Hey, he says softly. Look at me. I do, meeting his steady gaze. I can't promise that nothing will ever go wrong, he says. But I can promise that what I feel for you isn't going to disappear overnight. This isn't a whim, Jamie. It's not an experiment. He trails off, seeming to search for the right words. It's the most real thing I've ever felt. The sincerity in his voice and his eyes makes my throat tight. Me too, I manage. He kisses me then, right there on the beach in the fading light, slow and sweet and full of promise. I'm dimly aware that we might be seen, that there are other people around, but in that moment, I can't bring myself to care. When we break apart, a young woman walking her dog gives us a small smile as she passes. Eli tenses slightly beside me, but doesn't let go of my hand. Progress, I think. Small steps. That night, we have dinner at a small Thai restaurant near the hotel. The place is dimly lit, intimate, the tables spaced far enough apart to create a sense of privacy. We sit across from each other, knees touching beneath the table, talking about normal things, classes, movies, mutual friends, but with this new current running underneath it all. Do you think anyone suspects? Eli asks suddenly. Back home, I mean. The question catches me off guard. I don't know. Maybe. My mom asked me once a couple years ago if there was something I wanted to tell her about you and me. Eli's eyes widen. What did you say? I denied it, of course, pretty vehemently. I push rice around my plate, remembering my panicked reaction. But I think she knew I was lying. And she was okay with it? I consider this. I think so. She never brought it up again, but she's always extra nice when you come over. Makes your favorite foods, asks about your day. I shrug. I think she'd be happy. For both of us. Eli nods slowly, absorbing this. My dad would freak, he says eventually, his voice matter-of-fact but with an undercurrent of pain. You don't know that for sure. I do, though. He sets down his fork. Remember when my cousin Alex came out last year? Dad wouldn't even go to the family Christmas party because Alex was bringing his boyfriend. I wince. I do remember. Eli had been uncharacteristically quiet afterward, avoiding the topic whenever I brought it up. Maybe he'd feel differently if it was his own son, I suggest, though I'm not convinced. Eli gives me a sad smile. Maybe, but I'm not ready to test that theory just yet. No pressure, I assure him. We don't have to tell anyone until you're ready, if ever. He reaches across the table, takes my hand in full view of anyone who might be looking. I want to tell people, he says firmly. Just, maybe not everyone right away. Whatever you need. His thumb traces circles on my palm. What I need is you. The simple declaration makes my heart flip in my chest. Back in our hotel room, we fall onto the bed together. No longer separate entities, but a tangle of limbs and lips and whispered words. There's an urgency to our kisses now, a hunger that wasn't there before. Eli's hands slide under my shirt, warm against my skin, and I gasp into his mouth. Is this okay? He murmurs against my lips. Yes, I breathe. God, yes. But when his fingers move to the button of my jeans, I catch his wrist. Wait. He pulls back immediately, concern written across his features. Too fast? I nod, hating myself a little for stopping him when every cell in my body is screaming for more. I want to, I clarify. Believe me, I really want to, but, he prompts gently when I trail off. But I think we should take it slow, I finish. This is all so new, and I don't want to rush into anything we might not be ready for. Instead of looking disappointed, Eli seems relieved. I was thinking the same thing, he admits. I got carried away. Me too. I brush a curl away from his forehead. We have time. He settles beside me, pulling me close so that my back is pressed against his chest, his arm draped over my waist. All the time in the world, he agrees. We fall asleep like that, fully clothed but more intimate than I've ever been with anyone. The next morning brings reality back into sharp focus. We need to check out of the hotel, continue on to the next college on our list, stick to the schedule we'd planned before everything changed. I don't want to leave, Eli confesses as we pack our bags. It feels like a spell might break once we get back in the car. I understand the feeling. These past 2 days have existed in a bubble, separate from real life, from expectations and judgments, and the complicated web of our pre-existing relationships. Going back on the road means facing the future, both immediate and long-term. Nothing's going to break, I tell him with more confidence than I feel. This is real, remember? The most real thing. He smiles at my echo of his words from the beach. You're right. We load our bags into the car, check out of the hotel, grab coffee for the road. As Eli slides into the driver's seat, he looks over at me, something hesitant in his expression. What? I ask. Can I kiss you before we go? The question, so respectful, so earnest, makes my heart swell. I lean across the center console, press my lips to his and answer. When we break apart, he starts the engine with a small, satisfied smile. Ready? Ready? The drive to the next college takes us through winding coastal roads, scenic vistas opening up around every curve. We talk easily, fingers intertwined when Eli doesn't need both hands for driving, music playing softly from the speakers. But as the miles pass, I can't help noticing a subtle shift in Eli's demeanor. His answers become shorter, his gaze fixed more rigidly on the road ahead. By the time we reach the outskirts of the next college town, a tension has settled over the car that wasn't there when we started. Everything okay? I finally ask as we pull into the parking lot of our new motel. Eli kills the engine but doesn't move to get out. I'm just thinking. About? He stares through the windshield, jaw working. What happens when we go home, when this trip is over? The question has been lurking in my mind too, though I've tried to push it away. What do you want to happen? I want to be with you, he says without hesitation. But I'm scared, Jamie. I'm scared of what people will say, what my dad will do. I'm scared of not being ready to face all that. I reach for his hand. We take it one day at a time. We don't have to come out to everyone immediately. We can keep it between us for as long as you need. But even as I say the words, a small knot of dread forms in my stomach. How long could we really keep something like this hidden in our small town where everyone knows everyone's business? And do I really want to? Now that I've had a taste of being able to touch Eli freely, to kiss him when I want to, the thought of going back to pretending feels like a physical pain. Eli seems to read my thoughts. That's not fair to you, though, having to hide. You're worth it, I say simply. He lifts my hand to his lips, kisses my knuckles. Let's just focus on now, okay? Deal with the rest when we have to. Okay. The motel room at this new place is nicer than some of the others. Clean, recently updated, with 2 queen beds and a small sitting area. We bring in our bags, move around each other with the easy familiarity of longtime friends, but now with an added layer of awareness. I'm going to shower before dinner, Eli announces, grabbing his toiletry bag. Sure. While he's in the bathroom, I sit on the edge of one of the beds, suddenly uncertain. Do we push these beds together too? Is that our new normal now? Or is Eli having second thoughts, retreating back into the safety of how things were before? The bathroom door opens in a cloud of steam, and Eli emerges with a towel wrapped around his waist, water beading on his chest. The sight of him, familiar and yet newly significant, makes my mouth go dry. All yours, he says, gesturing to the bathroom. I nod, grabbing my own toiletries and clean clothes, slipping past him without making eye contact. Under the hot spray of the shower, I try to sort through my jumbled emotions. Joy at this new development between us. Fear of it falling apart. Uncertainty about what comes next. When I come out of the bathroom, Eli is sitting on one of the beds, fully dressed, scrolling through his phone. He looks up when he hears me, a smile spreading across his face. Hey, he says softly. Hey yourself. He pats the space beside him. Come here. I do. Settling next to him on the bed, he immediately wraps an arm around my shoulders, pulls me into his side. I was thinking, he says, his tone casual but with an undercurrent of nervousness, that maybe we could just use one bed, save the motel some laundry. Relief washes through me. Very environmentally conscious of you. I'm all about conservation. His fingers play with the damp hair at the nape of my neck. And maybe I just want to hold you again like last night. I lean into his touch. I'd like that. He kisses me then, slow and deep, his hand coming up to cup my face. I melt into him, all my earlier doubts dissolving under the heat of his touch. We should go to dinner, he murmurs against my lips after several long minutes. Not hungry, I mumble, chasing his mouth as he pulls back. He laughs, the sound vibrating through me where our chests press together. Food first, then? His eyes darken with promise. Then, I prompt. Then we come back here and I kiss you until you can't remember your own name. A shiver runs down my spine. Deal. The fifth college on our list is a bust. The campus is beautiful but sterile. The program's rigid. The students we encounter stressed and competitive in a way that sets both our teeth on edge. Well, that's crossed off the list, Eli says as we leave the final tour. Definitely. We find a coffee shop near campus, settle into a quiet corner with our drinks. Eli pulls out the map we've been annotating throughout our trip, makes a large X through the name of this college. So we're down to two realistic options, he says, circling the names of the colleges we liked best. The one we just visited and the one where I trail off, not sure how to encapsulate everything that happened at the fourth college. The one where we finally got our heads out of our asses? Eli suggests with a grin. I laugh, That's one way of putting it. He studies the map, expression growing thoughtful. They're both good schools. Both have strong programs in what we want to study. But, I prompt, sensing his hesitation, but one of them feels like home. His eyes meet mine. Or maybe that's just because of what happened there. I understand the dilemma. Is our preference for the fourth college based on objective criteria? Or is it colored by the emotional significance the place now holds for us? We still have one more to visit, I remind him. Maybe it'll blow both of these out of the water. Eli nods, but he looks unconvinced. Maybe. That night, we make good on Eli's promise. We return to the motel after dinner, and he kisses me until I'm breathless, until the world narrows to just the two of us in this room, on this bed. His hands stay respectful, never straying too far, but there's an intensity to his touch that leaves me dizzy. I love you, he whispers against my mouth, the first time he's said the words directly since this all began. I've loved you for so long. I love you too, I whisper back, the truth of it resonating through my entire being. We fall asleep wrapped around each other, his heartbeat a steady rhythm against my back. In the morning, I wake before Eli. I watch him sleep for a while, cataloging the details I've never allowed myself to study so openly before. The fan of his eyelashes against his cheeks, the slight part of his lips, the way his curls tangle against the pillow. How many mornings could I wake up like this? The question fills me with equal parts hope and terror. Eli stirs, blinks awake. When he sees me watching him, a slow smile spreads across his face. Morning, he says, voice rough with sleep. Morning. He reaches out, traces my cheekbone with his thumb. What are you thinking about so seriously? The future, I admit. What happens after this trip? His expression grows more alert. And I'm scared, I confess. Scared that once we go back to real life, this will all fall apart. Eli props himself up on one elbow. Why would it fall apart? Because real life is complicated. Because we'll have to deal with other people's expectations and judgments. Because... I swallow hard. Because you might decide it's easier to go back to pretending. Pain flashes across his face. Is that what you think of me? That I'd just... What, pretend this never happened? No, I say quickly. That's not what I meant. I know how hard it is for you. With your dad, with your whole image at school. And I'm afraid that when we get back, all those pressures will make this feel impossible. Eli sits up fully, runs a hand through his sleep-mussed hair. Look, I can't promise it will be easy, but I can promise that what I feel for you isn't going to change just because we go home. He takes my hand, squeezes it. This isn't just a vacation fling, Jamie. This is everything. The conviction in his voice, in his eyes, soothes something raw and anxious in my chest. Everything, I echo. He kisses me then, morning breath be damned, and I let myself believe that maybe, just maybe, we can make this work. The last college on our list turns out to be a pleasant surprise. It's smaller than the others, more intimate, with a vibrant arts community and a campus that feels alive with creative energy. The film program has equipment that makes Eli's eyes light up, and the creative writing department hosts readings by authors I've admired for years. I like it here, Eli admits as we walk the central quad after our final tour. Me too. I glance at him. More than the other ones? He considers this. It's different, smaller, more personal, but also maybe further from home than I was planning. The implication hangs between us. Further from his dad, further from the weight of expectations and family history. Would that be a bad thing? I ask carefully. A small smile plays at the corners of his mouth. Maybe not. We spend the rest of the day exploring the town around the campus. Quaint shops, local restaurants, a park where students lounge on blankets, reading or sketching or simply soaking up the spring sunshine. It's easy to imagine a life here, a future where we're both pursuing our passions while building something together. As evening approaches, Eli suggests we drive to a lookout point we passed on our way into town. The road winds up into the hills, offering increasingly spectacular views of the valley below. At the summit, we park and get out, leaning against the hood of the car as the sun begins its descent toward the horizon. What are you thinking? I ask, watching the play of golden light across Eli's features. That I'm happy, he says, echoing my words from days earlier. That for the first time in a long time, I can see a future that feels real, that feels like mine. He reaches for my hand, interlaces our fingers. Our future, if you want it to be. The casual certainty in his voice, the easy way he includes me in his plans, makes something warm unfurl in my chest. I want that, I tell him, more than anything. We stay there until the sun dips below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold and deep, rich blue. In the growing twilight, Eli turns to face me. No matter where we end up for college, he says, his expression earnest, whether it's together or at different schools, I want to make this work. I want to be with you, Jamie, for real. Not just on this trip, not just when it's easy, but always. The declaration steals my breath. Are you sure? It won't be easy, especially in the beginning. I'm sure. He cups my face in his hands. I've spent years hiding, years pretending to be someone I'm not. I don't want to do that anymore. I want to be honest, with myself, with my family, with the world, and the most honest thing I know is how I feel about you. I cover his hands with mine. Whatever happens, we face it together. Together, he agrees. He kisses me then, as the first stars begin to appear in the darkening sky, and I feel something settle into place inside me. A certainty, a belonging, a home I've been searching for without knowing it. Our last night on the road, we check into a small inn rather than another anonymous motel. The place is charming, with antique furniture and a view of the town square from our window. The proprietor, an older woman with kind eyes, shows us to a room with a single queen bed without comment or question. I thought we could splurge a little, Eli explains as we set our bags down. End the trip on a high note. I look around the cozy room, taking in the handmade quilt on the bed, the fresh flowers on the dresser. It's perfect. We have dinner at a small restaurant across the square, sharing a bottle of wine the server doesn't card us for. Under the table, our ankles hooked together, maintaining contact throughout the meal. I can't believe we go home tomorrow, I say, as we walk back to the inn, the night air cool against our skin. Eli's response is non-committal. Having second thoughts? I ask, only half joking. He stops walking, turns to face me under the glow of a street lamp. Not about us, he says firmly. Never about us. But, he sighs. But I am nervous about telling people, about how they'll react. We take it at your pace, I remind him. No rush. Eli nods, but there's still a tension in his shoulders that wasn't there before. Back in our room, he sits on the edge of the bed, looking lost in thought. Talk to me, I urge, sitting beside him. I'm trying to figure out the best way to tell my dad, he admits. Should I do it over the phone? Wait until I see him in person? Write a letter? There's no good way, is there? I take his hand, trace the lines of his palm with my thumb. Maybe there's no perfect way, but I think in person would be better than over the phone. And a letter, it might feel like you're not giving him a chance to respond. Eli nods slowly. You're right. In person, then. He looks up at me, vulnerability written across his features. Will you be there? When I tell him? The question catches me off guard. If you want me to be, I do. His fingers tighten around mine. I'm stronger when you're with me. The admission touches something deep within me. Then I'll be there. He pulls me closer, rests his forehead against mine. I keep thinking about what happens if it goes badly, if he reacts the way I'm afraid he will. Then we deal with it, I say simply. Together? What if he cuts me off, financially, I mean, for college? It's a real concern, one I hadn't fully considered. We'd figure it out, loans, scholarships, work study, and my parents would help if they could. Eli closes his eyes, takes a deep breath. I'm sorry, this isn't how I wanted to spend our last night. Hey! I cup his face in my hands. Don't apologize. This is real life. It's messy and complicated and scary. But we're facing it together, remember? His eyes open, finding mine. Together, he echoes. I kiss him then, trying to pour all my support, all my love into the contact. He responds with equal fervor, hands sliding up my back, pulling me closer. When we break apart, something has shifted in his expression. A new resolve, a clarity. Let's go outside, he says suddenly. Now? It's late. I know, but it's our last night and I want to see the stars. The inn has a small garden in the back with a wooden bench positioned beneath an ancient oak tree. We sit side by side, heads tilted back to take in the canopy of stars above us. The night is clear, the Milky Way a smear of silver across the dark canvas of the sky. I used to stare at the stars when I couldn't sleep, Eli says quietly. Which was a lot after my mom left. I'd climb out onto the roof outside my window and just look up. It made my problems seem smaller somehow. I lean into his side. And now I have something better to stare at. He turns to me with a small smile. I roll my eyes. That was incredibly cheesy. But effective? His smile widens. Maybe. I can't help smiling back. We fall into comfortable silence, shoulders touching, fingers intertwined on the bench between us. A cool breeze rustles the leaves above, bringing with it the scent of jasmine from somewhere nearby. Jamie? Eli's voice is soft, introspective. Have you ever felt lonely, even when you're with other people? The question resonates with something I've felt but never quite articulated. Yes, I admit. A lot, actually. He nods as if confirming something to himself. Me too. All the time. Even at parties, surrounded by friends, even with my family. He turns to look at me, his expression earnest in the moonlight. But not with you, never with you. My throat tightens with emotion. Me neither. I think that's how I knew, he continues. That what I felt for you was different. Special, because when I'm with you, I never feel that emptiness, that disconnect. I struggle to find words equal to the moment, to the depth of what I'm feeling. You make me feel seen, I finally say. Like you know all of me, the good parts and the not-so-good parts, and you love me anyway. Not anyway, he corrects gently. Because of. I love you because of who you are, not despite it. Something breaks open in my chest, a swell of emotion so powerful it almost hurts. I lean forward, press my lips to his in a kiss that's more tenderness than passion. When we break apart, Eli keeps his eyes closed for a moment, as if savoring the sensation. Then he looks at me, a question in his gaze. What? I ask. I was just wondering. Have you ever thought about us? In the future, I mean. The question brings a flush to my cheeks, though I'm not sure why. Of course. And? He prompts. And I see us together, I admit. Maybe in different schools at first, talking every night, visiting on weekends, then after graduation, getting an apartment together somewhere, building a life. Saying it out loud makes it feel both more real and more vulnerable, as if I've handed him a fragile, precious thing. Eli's smile is soft, intimate. I see that too. All of it. Yeah? Yeah. He takes a deep breath. I want a life with you, Jamie, a real life. Not one where we're hiding or pretending or keeping parts of ourselves locked away. The promise in his words, in his eyes, fills me with a cautious hope. I want that too. He leans in, kisses me again, a kiss that feels like a covenant, a vow. Against my lips, he whispers, then let's make it happen. We stay in the garden for hours, talking in hushed voices about our hopes, our fears, our dreams for the future. We make plans both practical and fantastical, which colleges to apply to, where we might live after graduation, the places we want to travel together, the life we want to build. As the night deepens and the air grows colder, we huddle closer together on the bench, Eli's arm around my shoulders, my head resting against his chest. We should go in, he says eventually, though he makes no move to get up. It's late, and we have a long drive tomorrow. 5 more minutes, I murmur, not ready for this moment to end. He presses a kiss to the top of my head. 5 more minutes. Above us, the stars wheel slowly across the sky, witnesses to this new, fragile thing between us. I think about the miles we've traveled together, not just on this trip but throughout our lives, the shared history that led us to this garden, this bench, this moment. Eli? I say, my voice barely above a whisper. Hmm? I'm not scared anymore. His arm tightens around me. Of what? Of the future. Of going home. Of any of it. I lift my head to look at him. Whatever happens, we'll face it together. And that's all that matters. In the soft moonlight, his smile is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. Together, he agrees. We seal the promise with a kiss, slow and sweet and full of everything we've just begun to say out loud. When we finally break apart, Eli rests his forehead against mine, our breath mingling in the cool night air. Come on, he says softly. Let's go to bed. Hand in hand, we walk back into the inn, toward our shared room, our shared bed, our shared future stretching out before us, uncertain in its details but solid in its foundation. That night, as we lie together in the darkness, Eli's arm draped protectively over my waist, his breath warm against my neck, I realize that something fundamental has shifted. The longing, the uncertainty, the fear that has colored my feelings for him for so long has been replaced by something steadier, something deeper. Jamie? Eli whispers, his voice thick with approaching sleep. Are you still awake? Yeah, I murmur. I just wanted to say... He pauses, tightens his arm around me. This wasn't how I expected this trip to go, but I'm so glad it did. I cover his hand with mine, intertwine our fingers. Me too. When we get home, he trails off, then tries again. Whatever happens, just remember this. Remember us here now. Promise? I promise, I whisper. And as I drift towards sleep in the circle of Eli's arms, I carry that promise with me, a talisman against whatever challenges await us beyond this room, this moment. A reminder that some things, once acknowledged, can never truly be forgotten. No matter what comes next, I know with bone-deep certainty that neither of us will ever forget what we found here on this college tour. Not just a possible future school, but a definite future together. A truth we've both been carrying, unspoken, for far too long. This, his heartbeat against my back, his breath in my hair, his love surrounding me, this is what I'll remember. This is what I'll never forget.